can do this. He was that engaged and that incredible.
Yet a recent Rolling Stone article written prior to Jackson's death questions his ability and his commitment to his upcoming tour, observing that Jackson had already postponed the first 4 shows. Here now is one of the contributors to that article, Steve Knopper, contributing editor with Rolling Stone magazine and author of Appetite for Self-Destruction, the spectacular crash of the record industry in the digital age. Steve, thanks for coming on the show tonight.
Sure, thanks for having me, Allison.
Now, the article was titled Inside Michael Jackson's Troubled Comeback. Do you think Michael Jackson wanted to do this tour?
Yeah, I kind of do think he did want to do it, but wanting to do something and having the ability to do it are 2 different things. You know, there are reports of him being a no-show at several different rehearsals, although that's not unusual behavior with Michael Jackson in the past, from what I understand with promoters. And you know, I think he wanted to do it, and there were questions about whether he was in shape to do it. I mean, you look at Mick Jagger and you look at Bruce Springsteen and other performers. These guys know that concert tours are marathons, and they have ways of preparing for them every time they go out. Michael Jackson hadn't done one in something like 13 years, so there were questions about whether or not he could pull all this stuff off. But then there were a lot of people that I talked to in the concert industry who were sort of optimistic in spite of themselves. They kind of felt like, wow, what if Michael Jackson could come back, do all these shows, and then be, you know, an active touring entity moving forward? That if he moved up into that echelon with Springsteen and the Rolling Stones and U2 and Madonna, that could be a huge boon for the industry for many years to come.
Steve, I want to bring Teray into the conversation. It is interesting to think about. He was 50 years old.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cast aspersions on whether or not Michael Jackson could have done this in particular, but there's something very athletic about performing. You know, it's being an athlete. You have to have the lungs, you have to have the stamina, night after night, running around, getting sweaty. You have to be ready for that. And we saw something interesting to this effect at the BET Awards. Guy reunited, right? The great R&B group of the 80s. They hadn't performed in a while. That was kind of clear. They were out of breath.
Sure.
They were singing really on key. And Questlove from The Roots twittered about it that night, talking about, if you don't perform all the time, you're going to lose your chops. It's not just something you can snap and come back to. So, you know, if Michael wasn't ready, and I don't know if he was or was not, but if you're not ready to perform, it's not going to work out.
Steve, how was the reception to this tour? I mean, it sold out quickly, right?
Yeah, it was 750,000 total tickets sold, something like $85 million worth of tickets, and they sold out quickly. They set a record, I believe, for the concert industry in general, but certainly in Europe. And so fans were obviously ready to see this comeback tour.
Well, what about the industry itself? How high were the expectations, Steve?
Well, like I say, you know, the people who are veterans of the concert industry have a certain cynicism, and so when I talk to people, and I did talk to a few people who were managers and agents and promoters from other companies, and they would say, I really hope he works it out, but I'm a little skeptical. There was one promoter that I quoted in the article that was written by Fred Goodman, who said 75% chance of him doing all the shows. And I kind of think that's where the attitudes touched down in the concert business. Although obviously people were spinning it. They wanted to see him succeed because there may have been money down the road. And plus, who doesn't want to see a Michael Jackson comeback tour? It would have been the greatest thing ever.
And Teray, we talked to a guest last hour, Gerald Posner, who was saying that he actually thought, and his sources were telling him, Michael didn't really want to do this tour.